Welcome to the Occupational Safety Leadership Podcast, episode number 209. And in today's episode, we continue the journey of incident investigation, and we're going to focus on determining causal factors. Let's just jump right in. So, in the previous episodes, we talked about forming a team to investigate the incident, what information we're looking for, interviewing the witnesses, all that good stuff. Let's kind of start to put the whole thing together at this point. And so when we determine the causal factors, we want to use a team as much as we can then. So for me, I like to do it just for the sheer fact of I'm getting a lot of input from different folks, getting a lot of different perspectives out there. Because I don't run the equipment. Um, I don't drive the truck that had the incident. So for me, I depend on others to really help me out to understand this. And I think of it as peeling back the layers of an onion. So the easy answer, which I hope that we never take as safety professionals, is that we just blame the employee. We just say, well, it's really not worth investigating. Person was wrong. They bypassed the procedure. They did whatever the following things wrong. You know, so it's the employee's fault that there's always a reason why this happens out there. So let's kind of talk about a couple of the causal factors, and these are just a few of the things that we want to sit down as a team and really kind of ask ourselves and go through. Um, it does bring up a couple of things on looking at the management leadership out there, the management style, the supervision and things. So at times it can be hard to peel back the onion because egos will get in the way. People don't want to be seen as being wrong. But I think it's really important to make sure that once an incident happens, never happens again. We do everything we can to solve every single incident out there, and just it's bad enough it happened the first time. Let's not have it happen again. So we want to look at getting as much input as we can from different people on this. So we want to ask about hazardous conditions out there. Was the correct equipment used? Was there a malfunction in the equipment? Conditions of the equipment. Um, was it being maintained properly, or was it something that somebody made a choice? We're going to run it to failure. Uh, that is a strategy out there. I don't think that's a very good strategy, but that is a strategy that some companies use. They will just run it until it breaks, and then they'll take it and swap it out. So we want to try and understand these conditions out there. So one of them was the machine or equipment, was it modified? So was it something that it was bought for X product? X product's not being built anymore. So now that Y is, well, we can modify this. We can change a couple of things around. So maybe the equipment is being used in a way that it was never intended to be used, but they decided that we're going to continue on. Let's look at the location of the equipment. Any kind of environmental conditions. In an ideal world, everything is inside and undercover, and it's a perfect 70 degrees. There's no rain, snow, mud. There's no anything. That's not always what's happening out there. Did you have sufficient workspace? Was it something that, for the sake of space, somebody decided to elevate this piece of machinery or equipment, as opposed to having it on the ground where it's easy? So a person would have to access it through a ladder or scaffolding, bending and reaching, and just ways that it was never it was never really meant to be, but somebody installed it in that kind of a fashion. You know. Next, let's look at job procedures and training. So, are the job procedures confusing? Was there lack of training out there? Was it written in a way that was really difficult to understand out there? So sometimes we have folks who are just super technical, are really smart and awesome and everything else, but when they write something, it's written in such a way that some people just have a hard time understanding exactly what's written down on here. Was there also a incentive to deviate from the procedure? And I don't mean incentive as in somebody said, I want you to break this procedure and your incentive is the following. Um, is it something that maybe was broken in the past, the um, procedure, and because there was not a ill consequence, there was not an injury, there was not a supervisor saying something's wrong, whatever it was, the person says, in a unconscious way, like, hey, that worked out pretty good. I'm going to continue to deviate from the procedure that's there. So uh, one thing that I have found is that at times um, we think the employee, when they show up to run this equipment or like machinery, maybe has more training and background than what we think out there. Um, some people just believe that, oh, it's really easy. You just read this SOP, it's 2 pages. It's got a start stop button. We just run this thing. So we really want to sit down and understand, was there a lack of job procedures, training involved, all that good stuff then. Let's continue on. Want to look at lack of PPE, or was PPE available and not used? Or is it literally that PPE is available, but maybe it's locked up, so the person could not literally get to the PPE? They know they're supposed to have it on, but it's locked up. So they continue to go ahead with the operation anyway, So we want to understand those things, and obviously PPE is your absolute last line of defense. We want to look at engineering out the problems and all the other things. I mean, the hazards and everything else first. But we do know that there are just certain jobs that even after we've engineered out the hazards, you still have that little bit of residual risk, and so PPE is used in those times. And then the last one, we want to look at the management systems that we have out there. Um, is this a piece of equipment that folks have asked for corrective action, and there was a failure to initiate the corrective action? So, was it something that the supervisor felt pressure to get things done? The supervisor may know or may not know if the employee is trained or not trained out there. Um, and then again, we get back to that deviation from job procedure. Is it something that management knew, looked the other way, just like is it something that the employees knew and looked the other way? So we want to look at the management system out there too. And I can't stress enough in this whole thing, it's not a finger pointing exercise. It's not about placing blame. It's not about we have to do everything we can to fix this issue, but let's not say it's management's fault, and let's not say that it's the employee's fault. Like we want to really peel back. The data has to drive these things. It can't be it can't be dictated or directed by the way somebody wants us to come out and look. That's also part of getting a lot of people with a lot of perspectives because they can ask questions just because they're just not familiar in a very non-threatening, hey, let's kind of figure this out. Let's peel back the onion. Let's let's make everything better out there. So, and in the next couple episodes, we'll also talk about how do we go back and track and correct the corrective actions out there then. So it's awesome and great to come up with a list of things that you're going to work on. But like all things, you have to have a champion. You have to have a person. You also have to anchor it with some kind of timeline out there, as in it's going to be done in, say, 30 days because you need some funding, you need to change things around. So, not that there's going to be overnight change, but you also have to see it through to the very end. We can't make a list of things and say, everybody go. It always has to be anchored. And like all things, you have to come back and follow up then. So, That is it for today's episode. I want to thank everybody for joining me. This was episode 209, where we talked about determining causal factors. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. My name is Dr. David Ayers. Thank you, and have a safe day.